Hi, I'm Dan and welcome to the Airbrush Garage. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. Today, I'm going to show you how I'm going to build my airbrush paint wall rack. For years, my go-to was a toolbox such as this, where it had a lid on the top, a couple compartments up in here. If you flip that over, all my paints are in there. But every time I had to go for a bottle of paint, it's very hard to see what's in there. That's the first thing. Second thing is I have a few other bins. You gather a lot of paint as you start airbrushing and the years go on. So I'm going to build a wall rack. I'm going to get this all organized and straightened out. So stick around, see how it turns out. It's really cool. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell so you get future notifications. Don't forget to check out all my Amazon affiliate links for all the products I use in this video and my other videos. Give me a couple comments, good or bad. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And with that, let's get started. All right, first thing you want to do when you get started is you want to come up with a plan, because I almost made a really big mistake. I went and marked out and figured out what I needed for my shelves based on my 2-ounce Wicked colors. The problem is when I went over and laid these right onto my layout or my board with my marks on it, my illustration colors didn't fit. And I use these illustration colors a lot, so I like them. So I want my shelving to fit this. And I would have been really, really disappointed and shocked if I put the whole shelf together and went to put these on there and they didn't fit. So what I figured out was that I needed a 4.5-inch shelf, or between shelves, for this particular bottle. Well, I need at least 5 for this. So my whole project would have been a disaster in my opinion. So make sure that you figure out exactly what you want to be putting on these shelves and mark it out as such. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out how big you want your shelving and how many shelves you're going to want. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to size the shelves in just a second, but in my case, the material I bought, or the shelving material I bought, is 4 foot wide. So I'm going to go 4 foot, and I figured out with my little hand sketch, I'll show you just in a minute, I'm going to be going about 20 inches high. Okay, because I don't want to go too much higher because I'm going to be putting some wall cabinetry on top here, so I don't want to interfere with that. So you really do need a little bit of a plan before you get started. So I wanted to keep this simple. I wanted to keep it inexpensive. I got about $30 in materials, okay, and it's just a few materials, and we're going to have a really cool shelf. So first thing you want to do is you want to sketch yourself out, and I call it a sketch on a napkin. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, okay? It doesn't have to be a CAD drawing, but you want to sketch your idea out and your measurements so you can lay it out on your wood. All right, so here we go. I got my layout on my first upright, or where I'm going to be cutting my grooves in to accept my shelving. So the materials I'm going to be using are 1x5s. There's 1, 2, 3 of them. They're 6 foot long. They cost about $5, $6. And then I'm going to be cutting the shelving out of tempered hardboard, 1/8 inch thick by 2 foot wide by 4 foot long. Hence the 4 foot shelving unit that I'm going to be making. Now, this is a really good idea, once you do your layout on your wood, to lay out the bottles that you're going to want to house on this rack. Again, this is where I realized my illustration color was not going to fit. So what I did to remedy the problem is now I sized all 3 shelves to be able to handle the illustration colors. Actually, all 3 shelves will also handle the 4-ounce bottles that look like this. But I did make the last shelf for the 4-ounce bottle just a bit bigger anyway, just to accommodate it a little bit easier and cleaner to get the bottle in and out a little easier. Again, this will fit in a smaller shelf, but it's going to be a little easier to manipulate in a shelf that's slightly bigger. So I'm actually building that shelf just to accommodate those. So one thing I really do want to mention now is that between shelves, I'm going to have 5 inches, but it's better to lay it out right on your board. You know, do it on your piece of paper, get your idea down, make sure all your measurements are right. But a lot of times you find when you come over and start laying it on your board, oh, I made a mistake. You have to account for your cut or your saw blade. In my case, I'm going to be accounting for 1/8 of an inch. So the 5 inches has to be from the top of this saw blade cut to the bottom of the saw blade cut, and then to the bottom to the top. Okay, so again, you want to count, because if you just make a line at 5 inches, okay, and then you cut on that line, if you're cutting anything close, you got to remember you're going to lose half the saw blade cut. So you want to account for that saw blade cut. All right, first we're going to cut out the side pieces. Here I'm just going to use the first piece to measure my second piece. I'm just going to line them up, make sure they're even. If not, give them one final trim, just to make sure they're both the exact same length. Now you want to set the blade to a 1/4 inch for the shelf slots. Now after doing a dry fit, I realized that my 1/8 inch saw blade cut needed to be just a slight bit bigger to fit my 1/8 inch shelf. And you just want to repeat this process. And I finally got smart, and before I move my fence, I make the cut on my first board and my second board. This way it ensures that the slots are going to be exactly in the same spot on each board. I'm going to be putting 3 shelves in, so I got one more slot to cut. As you can see, I ran the second board across before I moved the fence. Again, ensuring the same exact cut on each board. Alright, well now it's time to rip the shelves, and you want to rip them to the width of your board. In my case, I'm going to be cutting 3 of them. Now before I go any further, I'm going to take a measurement and again do a dry fit. So now you just want to dry fit all the pieces before you glue and nail it all together. Alright, so off camera I cut some splice pieces or support pieces that are going to go in between the shelves. This tempered hardboard doesn't have very much structural integrity and be very flimsy without it. So basically what I did was I cut 5-inch, 5-inch, and 5-inch pieces. And then my last one, because that shelf is going to be slightly bigger, is going to be 5 9/16. So it's important that you dry fit it together before you start gluing or nailing anything together or screwing anything together. In my case, I'm going to be using some brad nails with a pneumatic nailer and some good old wood glue. Okay, so for those of you who are going to spray your shelf like I'm going to, really cool paint trick is you take 2 sawhorses, you take a finishing nail, and you nail it into the end of your board, okay, on both ends. This allows you to rotate your board to be able to paint it on all sides. without having to paint one side, wait till it dries and flip it over. Really cool trick. Well, all right, one more dry fit just to make sure everything's in the right place. Everything fits, everything's painted up. Just gonna get the brad nailer out, some glue. Let's get building. So I'm gonna be going with a pneumatic brad nailer. I'm gonna be putting a 2-inch brad in here. You got 3/4 board we're going through, so it's gonna allow us an 1.25 inch depth. Then I'm gonna lock everything together before I brad nail it with some good old wood glue. You know, this is gonna be interior, so I don't need, you know, the most expensive exterior waterproof glue. This Type Bond, there's other many brands out there, not sponsored by Type Bond in any way. It's just a good old fashioned, good old wood glue. So it really doesn't matter what brand you get as far as that goes. Just make sure you get some good wood glue on there. It's only about $3 a bottle, very inexpensive. All right, so once everything's all dry fitted up, now I'm gonna mark out where the stiffeners go. I wanna make sure they're all equally spaced. You want to check the horizontal and the vertical square. Now when you're applying glue, you want to apply it to both surfaces, as you can see here. And I use my finger to really, just rub that glue into the pores of the wood. You don't want an excessive amount of glue, but a nice thin coating. Then I put one brad nail in at the top. Then I use the square to square up the vertical square of the stiffener before I stick the second brad nail in the bottom. Now I'm just using some wax paper here. You want to put some wax paper under your glue joints, and just to keep the glue off your table so you don't have a mess, and it keeps you from gluing your project to the table. So here you want to apply glue to the stiffener, and then I'm putting my board or my shelf in the slot of the uprights. I'm just using the top here to check everything, make sure everything's square, and I'm going to brad nail it on. And from here I'm just going to repeat the process until I get to the top. Now with the second level, when you're on top of the shelf, you will have to toenail down. And then just repeat this process till you get to the top. Well, all right, I'm all basically finished up here. As I finished it up, there's just a few little tweaks, tweaks I want to do to it. So what I noticed was my shelving, it's good, but this hardboard doesn't have a lot of structural integrity to it. So if you did put any kind of weight on it, it may sag a little bit. I didn't like that, so what I did is I had some scrap board left over. I'm going to cut up 5-inch long pieces for the first 3 bays, and I ripped them in half, so you got about 1.75 inches, maybe a little bit less in thickness, which is really cool because it just fits back in there, pushed it right back to the wall. You can put a bottle out in front, it's really not affecting your space in any way, and it really stiffened the board up. I mean, now you can put whatever you want on it, it's not going to sag on you. So a couple stiffeners to finish up, and then because I ran my hardboard right through the full width, and then I put spaces in between, and I notched it over here. So aesthetically, now you can see the hardboard. So what I did is I ripped some, a little bit better than 1/16 inch strip, and I'm going to paint these up. I'll glue and just brad nail them on right there, and that'll cover up those and make it look aesthetically better. So, overall, really happy with this project the way it turned out. I mean, as you can see, it serves its purpose. Been wanting one of these for a long time. Looked online, didn't really find anything all much that fit my needs. This way I custom built it to exactly my dimensions and what I need. So as you can see, I got plenty of paint here to last me a while. So I hope this helps you guys out. If this is something you want to build for your shop, hopefully you could just use this as a guide and customize your own shelves. So with that, I hope you like this video. If you do, consider subscribing, hit that bell so you get future notifications. Couple comments, good or bad, really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to check out my Amazon affiliate links and all my other links down below for the products I use in this video and all my other videos. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.